Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about special right triangles. So we have some special right triangles in the angle measures that they have in there. And the first one we're going to talk about is a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And so this theorem tells us that in a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, the hypotenuse is twice as long as the shorter leg, and the longer leg is the square root of 3 times as long as the shorter leg. And so we see that in this figure here, and so my short leg is my x, my longer leg would be x times square root of 3, and then my hypotenuse, which again is always opposite of my right angle, would be 2 times x. So we talked about the Pythagorean theorem, and the Pythagorean theorem allows us to find a missing side in a right triangle when we're given two sides. Today we're going to be talking about these special right triangles where we may only be given one side, but this theorem allows us to still find the length of the other two sides. And so if I'm looking at this, I get really two equations here that will help me find the length of these other sides. The first one is that the hypotenuse is equal to that short leg times 2. And the long leg, which is right here, the x times square root of 3, is going to be equal to the short leg times square root of 3. So I would recommend using these two equations when you're setting up doing the problems below to kind of help you know where to plug in your information. So let's go through some examples. So we're going to find the value of x and y, and then we're going to write our answer in simplified radical form. So that means that all radicals are simplified, and that means that we can't have a radical in the denominator, and we have to rationalize that denominator, which we learned about back in Unit 1. So looking at number 1, I want to find the value of x and y. I like to go ahead and label my long leg and my hypotenuse right off on the picture to kind of help me when I am plugging in my information. So first, I know my hypotenuse is opposite of my right angle. So that means that my hypotenuse is that 22. And then to figure out which one's the long leg, you're just going to look at the picture and see which one looks longer, and that is going to be my y. If you can't tell, another way that you can figure out which one's your long leg is that the long leg is always going to be opposite of your 60-degree angle. So since I'm given the hypotenuse in this problem, I'm going to go ahead and use that first equation. Because if I were to use the second equation, I don't know my long leg or my short leg length, so I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. So since I'm given my hypotenuse, I'm going to go ahead and use that first one. So hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times 2. And then I'm going to plug in what I know. Well, my hypotenuse is 22. My short leg is x times 2, so I just write that as 2x. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve this equation. So divide both sides by 2, and I get that 11 is equal to x. So that means that my short leg here is 11. Now I need to figure out what my long leg is. Well, from my equation that I wrote up here, I know that my long leg is equal to my short leg times the square root of 3. So long leg equals short leg times square root of 3. My long leg I have as y. My short leg I actually just found. I found that my short leg is 11. And then times square root of 3. So I look at that, can I simplify that any further? No, I can't. So that means that y is equal to 11 square root of 3. Okay, let's look at this next one. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and label my hypotenuse and my long leg. My hypotenuse is opposite of my right angle, so that means that my hypotenuse here is y. My long leg is opposite of the 60-degree angle. It's also just the longer of the two sides, and so that means that my long leg here is 15. And so that means that my short leg is x. Next, I need to figure out which equation I'm going to start with. Since I am given the value of my long leg, I'm going to actually start with that long leg equation this time. So I have that long leg is equal to short leg times square root of 3. Well, my long leg is 15, so I have 15 is equal to the short leg, which is x, times square root of 3. Next, I need to divide both sides by the square root of 3. Now here we need to be careful. My answer is not in simplified form, and that is because of this square root of 3 in the denominator. So to rationalize it, if you remember back in Unit 1, I need to multiply top and bottom by the square root of 3. And so when I do that, I get 15 square root of 3 over the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3. And then now looking at this further, I see that I can still simplify this because 15 divided by 3 is 5. And so I get that 5 square root of 3 is equal to x. Okay, now I can go ahead and find my hypotenuse. So I know that my hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times 2. My hypotenuse is y, so I have y is equal to the short leg we just found to be 5 square root of 3, so I have 5 square root of 3 times 2. And now here again, be careful when I'm multiplying by 2, I have to multiply the 2 with a 5, not with the square root of 3, because 2 is not under square root. So 5 times 2, I get 10 square root of 3. Okay, looking at this next one, something you may notice in this picture is that they didn't label this other angle as 30 degrees. That's okay, because we already know that this right angle is 90, we're given 60, and so you can already assume that this is 30, just from our triangle sum theorem. So my first step, I'm going to go ahead and label my hypotenuse in long leg. So my hypotenuse here is 18 square root of 3. And then my long leg is opposite of my 60-degree angle, so that means that my long leg is y. Figuring out which equation to start with, I see that I'm given my hypotenuse, so I'm going to start with that hypotenuse equation. So I have hypotenuse is equal to short leg times 2. My hypotenuse is 18 square root of 3, so I have 18 square root of 3. It's equal to my short leg, which is x times 2, so 2x. Divide both sides by 2, and I get 18 divided by 2 is 9 square root of 3 is equal to x. So that means that my short leg is 9 root 3. Now I can find my long leg, and I know my long leg is equal to the short leg times square root of 3. I just found my the short leg, and that is 9 square root of 3. And so plugging everything in, I have y is equal to 9 root 3 times the square root of 3. Here, since I'm multiplying a square root of 3, I want to multiply that with this also, the square root of 3. So square root of 3 times square root of 3, I get 3. And then 9 times 3, I get 27. Okay, now that we've done a few, go ahead and pause the video and try this last one on your own. When you think you have it, go ahead and press play. So the answers you should have gotten were that x is equal to 5 root 3 and y is equal to 10. This time we were actually given the short leg to begin with, so it didn't matter which equation you started with because the short leg is in both. But either way, you should have ended up with these same answers.